everyone. Yes, I'm Jon Gilchrist. I'm Artistic Director and Chief Executive of Birmingham Hippodrome. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a white male in my early to mid-40s. I've got short brown hair and I'm wearing a blue shirt. I want to start by talking about my favourite invention. So in 2016, two universities friends collaborated on a new idea. They presented it to the industry in 2017, and it received a huge amount of attention. Investors saw potential and helped get a route to market. They took advantage of advances in digital technology and improved their brand. And they launched nationally, then internationally, North America, Europe, Asia. And last year, 2.6 million people bought the product, and to date, over 1 billion people have engaged with it online. I am, of course, talking about Six the Musical. I think musical theatre is important. It brings people together, and it's a timeless expression of culture. But also it creates joy, and that's the thing we need most right now. But can it be a source of economic growth for a country in need of a boost? So the title of this, I thought it was clever. The title of this talk is The Invisible Jazz Hand, an Economic Case for Musical Theatre. So that's taken from the concept of the invisible hand, which is a metaphor inspired by the Scottish moral philosopher Adam Smith, that suggests that free markets will either intentionally or unintentionally benefit the public good. And the jazz hand is, of course, this. Didn't think you were going to get choreography today. And with this title, you might assume I'm an economist or a specialist in musical theatre. But in fact, I've read 3 books on economics: Economics for Dummies, Freakonomics, and Super Freakonomics. In fact, I never read them, I listened to the audiobooks. And while I love musical theatre, this is my favourite musical, SpongeBob SquarePants the Musical. If you've not seen it, it's honestly amazing, and Just a Simple Sponge is a song for today. But what we know about musical theatre is it's already critical for the economy in the UK. Firstly, it sells. In London's West End, it represents 65.5% of revenue in 2023. That's £643 million worth of tickets. Secondly, it's one of our greatest cultural exports. The combined revenues of 3 UK-led and originated musical theatre productions of Mamma Mia, Phantom of the Opera and Cats is over £13.6 billion. To put that into context, that's more than the James Bond film franchise and the Harry Potter film franchise. And there's huge potential for further growth. But thirdly, it creates jobs. The theatre sector directly or indirectly supports over 450,000 jobs a year. But there is a cliff edge. Musical theatre talent massively outweighs opportunity, and rising costs are making it harder and harder to create work. Too many ideas aren't given the chance to develop. And theatre producers are increasingly having to rely on things perceived as safer bets: heritage titles, jukebox musicals, or shows based on existing IP. And to be 100% clear, they are critical to our ecology. Our audiences adore the classics and jukebox musicals, and existing IP is amazing, as we know. But remember, even the classics were new musicals once. And the strength of musical theatre is that what always works on paper isn't always what works on stage. There's a story of an accountant who worked for a major musical theatre producer who came in one day with an idea to revolutionize the business. It was, don't do the flops, just do the hits. But how do you separate the flops from the hits? People always say to me, this would make a great musical, or that would make a great musical, like a story in a newspaper or something that happened to their uncle. But it's not always cut and dried what makes a good musical. For instance, what if I told you I want to make a musical out of a 1,500-page Victor Hugo novel, or 67 hours and 53 minutes on audiobook, or a feline-based collection of poetry by T.S. Eliot, or a story about chess? They would go on to become Les Miserables, Cats, and chess. It was a comedian from our region, from the West Midlands, Frank Skinner, who joked that Hamilton was simply rapping the Wikipedia page. But in reality, it's one of the greatest pieces of art ever created. And at the moment, it's completely, inspiring the audience in Birmingham, where we've got it for a 10-week summer run. Invention requires risk. Allowing creative people to take creative risks is critical. It's going to be critical to fill our theatres, critical to promote Brand Britain, and critical to create jobs. In other industries, this is classified as the norm. Around 1 in 30 digital startups are ever become a genuine success. The majority won't see a return on investment, but when they succeed, the potential's enormous. In the UK, we talk a lot about arts funding, but we need to flip the script. This is investment into innovation. Failure is not ideal, but it's necessary. British musical theatre is thriving. It's in a better place than it's ever been. And legendary UK producer and theatre owner said just that at a conference recently. There are extraordinary producers, theatres, and production companies who are investing in talent and making great work. For the last 2 years, the Best New Musical category at the Olivier Awards has been dominated by British talent, including winners developed with support from incredible theatres outside London. But with the economic challenges of today, more is going to be done to keep the airplane in the sky. So in developing a 5-year vision for Birmingham Hippodrome, we wanted to support this golden age for musical theatre. So what was the big idea? A dedicated department specifically about new musical theatre. But before we embark on any strategic direction at the Hippodrome, we ask 3 questions. Why here, why now, and why us? Why is this the best location to do this intervention? Why is now the right time to do this intervention? And why are we the best people to deliver that intervention? So why here? Firstly, this is Birmingham. And I mean Birmingham in the West Midlands of England because there are 18 Birminghams in America, but we were the original. Our Birmingham is famous for Peaky Blinders, Ozzy Osbourne, and not 1 but 2 statues of bulls. I promise you that joke would go down brilliantly in Birmingham. It also has more miles of canal than Venice. It's an interesting fact. But it's the UK's 2nd biggest city and demographically one of the most diverse and one of the most young cities in all of Europe. The creative talent in the city is genuinely inspiring. It's a region built around the automotive industry, and at one point it was one of Europe's biggest exporters of cars. But it's facing financial challenges at the moment, and last year it was effectively declared bankrupt. All local investment in culture has gone, and a lot of young people are finding it incredibly difficult to make careers as artists, and we're hemorrhaging creative talent from the city as a result. There needs to be an intervention now. Why now? Well, the UK's economy has taken a bit of a hammering in recent years. The Labour government have come into power for the first time in 13, 14 years, and they've painted a really bleak picture of the economic landscape. Increased investment in the arts is very unlikely, but what they're searching for are industries where you can see growth, industries where you can see true potential economic change to a region. The economy was also damaged in 2017 by the Brexit vote, which was the decision to leave the European Union, which was described by one commentator as the biggest economic act of self-harm in Western history. But one of the only major exports we have in the UK is culture, and it's worth billions of pounds every year. And musical theatre is growing internationally. This is an example from Korea. We've seen an extraordinary growth across the course of the last 25 years. And last year, 8 million audiences saw musical theatre in Korea, 75% of which were female and under the age of 35. Musical theatre can be economic growth. So why us? Well, the Birmingham Hippodrome has been at the heart of Birmingham for 125 years this year. It's one of the busiest theatres in the UK, and we sell over 600,000 tickets a year. But over half of those tickets are for musical theatre. We're also committed to supporting the next generation of talent. We have dedicated programs to support local talent, but also an education network that works with 44 schools, 80% of which are in areas of low engagement. Theatre can and should be inspiring to all. As I mentioned, we have Hamilton on at this summer, and we knew that this would be a really, really important show for a city as young and diverse as we are. But we also knew there'd be a lot of barriers to attendance, be that geographic, be that financial, be that social. So in collaboration with the brilliant people at Cameron Mackintosh Foundation, we put on an additional special performance for schools. And for this performance, at the end of it, there was a 15-minute demonstration of all the skills associated with musical theatre. So sound, lighting, wardrobe, stage management, alongside box office and customer service, showing that it takes a village to raise a musical. A large proportion of that audience had never experienced theatre before. 99% of them, when surveyed, said they'd come back again, and 80% of them said they would consider a career working in theatre. We have the audience ready for new work, and we have a young, diverse workforce who are ready to take on the challenge of that growth. So what have we done so far? So last year, we established the UK's first ever venue-based Department for New Musical Theatre, led by Deirdre O'Halloran, who's a multi-Olivier Award-winning dramaturg. We hit the ground running. We have our first musical theatre writers group, helping 6 teams develop new work. We started doing sharings, and this is a show called This Is a Love Story, which we developed and then shared with the public audience. And at Christmas, we're launching a brand new theatre brand called My First Musical, aimed at families with children aged 3 and above. And the first musical, The Jingle Claw, is going to be a real, true joy for us. But we've also transformed the space. We've turned a former boardroom into an artist lounge, which is dedicated to a place that West Midlands artists can come, collaborate, and to be. Because ultimately, this is what it's all about. Silicon Valley came about because there was space where people could drink coffee, talk, and share ideas. And we fundamentally think that this is one of the critical elements to creativity. Our aim is that Hippodrome and Birmingham can do that for musical theatre, that the industrial strategy for the entire region can focus on chorus lines instead of cars, and that the nighttime economy can grow, that we can reach new international export markets, and we can provide jobs for a new generation. Our aim is that the next great musical theatre invention will be made in Birmingham, UK, and then it becomes known for Peaky Blinders, for Ozzy Osbourne, for bull statues, and for jazz hands. Thank you.